Good morning, welcome to In the Garden. I'm your host, Master Gardener Joyce Hochsprung. Today we're at Good Courage Farm. We're here with Carrie and Jen, and they're going to talk to us about their vineyard and about growing grapes, harvesting grapes, and we'll try to throw in a few other fruits that you could grow in your home garden.
Yeah, well, we grow actually 25 kinds of grapes. Most of the hardy grapes that you can grow in Minnesota. We bought the farm just a couple years ago, and so the prior owners had planted all of these and kind of collected this collection. And now we're getting to experience all the different flavors and tastes and sort of growing characteristics of them. And some of them are, we're discovering very vigorous, and others are less vigorous. Some are more disease prone and others are less disease prone. But there's this wide variety of, early, mid, and late season, seedless and non-seedless, white, red, purple. So there's quite a variety that can grow here.
Okay, do you want to talk a little bit about your trellis system? And I assume that was probably here, or did you?
It was. Mm-hmm. It was. The trellis system was sort of an experiment. This double, so we have it in these rows where it's sort of like a zipper, right, left, right, left, right, left, and there's two trellis rows, wires on each side. This is probably a technique that is better suited to very hot, dry, arid desert climates.
Yeah, it's called a double tatura. And it really is like if you were growing grapes in Arizona, which some people are trying to do.
Australia.
This is the way to set up your system there for increased productivity. But for a climate like ours where the growing season is humid.
Well, not this year.
Yeah, I mean this year it
normally
looked like
we have a humid
County.
summer. Yeah, and so we probably wouldn't recommend this trellising system. It's what we're working with.
When I had a few, and I had like 8 vines, I think. I had and I don't remember the name of it, it's been 5 years since it's been gone, but posts at the end and in between, and then double row of wires, heavy duty wire on a turnbuckle where I could keep them tight.
Mm-hmm.
And train them up that, and I had one cordon going out on one, and then another one on the upper one, kind of,
yeah.
So.
When we arrived, this vineyard also had vines growing on the 3-foot wire and a 6-foot wire, but we really struggled with fungal diseases.
So you
and in consultation with the university, we decided to get rid of the 3-foot layer and only grow at the 6-foot layer, and it increases the airflow.
Mm-hmm.
And that, plus the 2 dry years that we've had, has seemed to help our fungus situation quite a lot. So airflow is really important.
Okay.
And it's really interesting to see because we have a couple of grapes on trellises up near the house. And there's a lot less wind near the house because we have the woodlot that blocks the wind. But out here, they're pretty exposed. This is wetland on the other side. And we don't see the same fungal pressure levels out here as we see in a sheltered area. So I think the wind movement is really, really crucial.
Okay. Well, why don't you take us through and talk about some of the varieties, and maybe if you've got a couple favorites for table grapes that people might want to try growing, or ones for juice, or mention those.
Yeah. So this first row here has mostly been picked clean. There's a few bunches left, and this is hands down my favorite of our seedless varieties. This is called Trollhaugen, and it's a slip skin purple grape. And it's great for like a dessert grape. You can also juice this for jelly because it's got some Concord kind of heritage in it.
Okay.
But it's seedless, and honestly, this one I think we've had the least disease pressure on of our seedless varieties. So it's worth saying that almost every variety of table grape and wine grape that we can grow here in the upper Midwest is thanks to the breeding work of a gentleman from Wisconsin named Elmer Swenson. And his lifetime was devoted to developing a wide array of varieties, table and wine and red and white and purple. And it's the heritage of Elmer Swenson that we're all benefiting from in terms of the grapes that we can grow in Minnesota.
That's
There are a
great.
lot of grapes named for him. There's Swenson's White and Swenson's Red, and there are grapes named for his wife and for other relatives. And so you get familiar with Elmer Swenson's legacy.
Whole family.
Yeah.
So this year we haven't had a lot of disease pressure, and that's because it's been hot and dry, and the grapes have loved it. We're fortunate that there's irrigation in this vineyard, so we have been able to irrigate. It's been hard to keep up, honestly, with the hot, dry conditions. But one of the things that we've noticed this year is that the bird pressure is like off the charts, and that's because the drought has it such that the regular forage of all of our native bird species is pretty depleted because
So,
of the
Yeah,
the
they're
conditions.
looking for moisture, for water, anywhere
They
they
are
can
looking
get it.
for food and water, and they'll get it anywhere they can. And we have nets, but every morning and every evening we come out and we find 8 or 10, or the other day it was 16 birds
They got-
inside. They managed to get inside the nets, and we have to
let
them
them
go.
out.
Yeah. So I'm gonna lift this net just so that we can all taste a Trollhaugen. I'll say that they're not going to be perfect because I went and color picked all of the really tasty ones for market yesterday. So if you want to just have a look, so this is a purple variety, and again it's a slip skin, so it's got so the flesh kind of pops out of the skin when you eat it, and you can see there's even a little bird damage through the net on there.
Those are tasty. And yeah, they would be good for jelly too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a nice table grape, but also really good for jelly. And so far we've had luck with this. And we are by no means like grape experts. This is our 3rd season. So you can learn along with us.
Okay, well those are quite tasty.
Another seedless variety that's really tasty is called Somerset Seedless. It's a pinkish red color, and it doesn't have the Concord flavor. It almost has a strawberry flavor. It's very sweet and just really easy, fun eating.
Well, this has got a little bit of that Concord flavor, but a little sweeter.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I think it's a really versatile grape, and we've had luck with it. Last year, we didn't net the Somerset grapes early enough, and the birds came in the course of maybe 2 days and cleared out the entire row. Yeah.
That doesn't take long. Okay, well let's see what else we have here.
I think next year we're going to probably add some more bird deterrents. I think we're going to have to invest maybe in some of those, those balloons that you fly,
Mylar.
or the plastic owls, or even the rubber snakes. Because the nets have helped. All of these grapes would be gone.
Gone.
But it hasn't really been enough. One of the cool tools that I think is useful, I mean, if a backyard grower has table grapes, I think the best way to sort of know when to harvest is just by tasting them. But there's a really cool tool called a refractometer, a Brix tester, and this is what winemakers use as one of the many data points.
They test the pH.
Yeah, they test the levels of tartaric acid, they weigh the berries, they average the bunch size, to kind of figure out where things are going. But what you would do with this, here, can I hand you that?
Yeah. Here, I'll squeeze it. right onto it.
Is this, you put a
It's
little,
a pretty simple little tool.
yeah,
You put some juice on. Whoops.
there's a
There.
prism there, give me another drop. There's a prism there, and it's going
juice
to be
on it.
really hard to read this today because there's not a lot of light.
Light.
When the sun's out. It's a little bit easier. But then what I can do is I can look through this, and the dissolved sugars in the juice refract light at different angles depending on how much sugar. Exactly, yep. And so when I look in this, I can sort of see there's a little horizon line right around the number 22. And so then you would say that the bricks, the degrees bricks,
is-
is 22 right now. And
Bricks
that was Trollhaugen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's like middle of the road, decent for Trollhaugen. On a lot of these varieties, like the wine varieties and the table varieties, you'll want the bricks probably between like 22 and 28.
Yeah, the sweeter ones for the wine because you need the sugar for fermentation. so.
Precisely, yeah. But this is a handy little tool.
Yeah, but a lot of the grapes that we pick and enjoy are like at 16 or 18, and they're quite good for
So
table
for
use.
the backyard gardener, you don't need this.
No.
Nope.
You could just go out and taste one and go, yep, that's good.
Nope.
Or,
Yeah.
nope, that's not quite ready. But
This is worth it if you want to make a batch of wine at home.
Right.
You know, and then that way you kind of know where you stand. So, but it's been one of the fun chemistry things that we've learned. So this is what sour rot looks like, and what happens is you have in a bunch, a couple of berries get injured, usually by birds, and then everybody else moves in. The fruit flies move in, the
Ladybugs,
wasps
the
come,
wasps.
and then they bring with them a mix of bacterial and fungal infection that will hit the infected berries, but then you'll see it start to
Spread
kind of
to the
spread,
others.
and then you can smell that it smells like vinegar, and that's when the sour rot infection has kind of gone.
into the whole clump.
Yeah, it's getting there. These berries are doing okay because it turned cool for a while, but I see that it's looking a little rough. I bricked these yesterday, and they came in around 22.
Oh yeah.
That's such a good grape, right?
That's a really good grape. It has kind of big seeds, but the flavor's so good.
Yum.
I also like this bluebell. It has such nice big leaves, and they're not very cut in, like not oak leaf shape. And so these are great for making stuffed grape leaves.
Oh.
When I pruned it a couple month or so ago, I cut off a couple hundred leaves and blanched them and put them away so that we can have stuffed grape leaves later. But they're nice big platters.
When we take grapes to market, it's really interesting to note how disinclined folks are to eat table grapes with seeds in them. Like, we're kind of over that. But I think that, you know, as we breed grape varieties, what we trade for seedlessness is flavor. And I just think, you know, we took another variety of a purple grape that Elmer Swenson developed to market last week, and I thought it was the tastiest grape we had, but it had seeds in it, and so it was the one that folks were least inclined to buy from us.
Okay.
And if you give a kiddo a grape with a seed in it, they almost lose their mind. You know? They're like, why is it crunchy?
Well, and when we say seedless here, it's not even perfectly seedless. Like, there's a little
bit yeah.
remnant of what would have been a
Been the
seed
seed.
that doesn't develop. So you still have to deal with a little tiny thing in there. So in terms of fertility, we did soil testing when we first got
okay.
here, and it was pretty depleted.
Okay.
This field also changes. There's a really different soil type in about the last 4 rows. But yeah, the grapes were struggling. I also did leaf sap test. I took leaf samples and sent them to a lab, and they really were pretty low in a lot of micronutrients and
Okay.
macronutrients. So, but we use, I mean, we're certified organic, so we've been using compost, a pelletized organic chicken manure compost, but also I do foliar feeding and drip feeding and also we re-inoculated the soil with microbes
Okay.
to try to kind of boost the life in the soil, because I really think the plant health, if they're not getting the nutrients they
from the
need,
soil.
they are not going to be healthy enough to resist diseases or resist insects and that kind of thing. So doing a soil test and doing even a leaf analysis revealed to us they were really missing some vitamins.
Okay.
And so we're gradually trying to build up the soil. We're hoping, our big picture plan is to improve the soil with animal manures and the animals will also help us with the weeding and mowing. We had envisioned these miniature sheep in our vineyard, which we've seen done in organic vineyards in California. But we might actually use ducks.
I think we're going to end up using the ducks. So, so there's the flock of ducks that we're breeding to the point where we'll have the density that we need, and they'll eat the weeds and the pests and poop a little bit.
And so even better than a lot of sort of bagged fertilizers and that kind of thing. Animal manures have these live bacteria and enzymes and things that then can repopulate the soil and kind of jumpstart the soil food web, and then make more nutrients available to the plants, even than just putting them on. So we are in a multi-year process of building the soil because the soil really wasn't supporting vigorous growth.
Do you want to go on more with grapes, or do you want to talk about some of your other berries and fruits that you have here?
You're the boss.
I think it would be really interesting to hit some of the other fruits too, and let people talk about the sea berries and maybe the currants a little bit.
The yummy sea berries are down there, so we may as well go down there.
Let's go down to the yummy sea berries then.
So this one is called Golden Sweet, this variety, and
it's tart, and then it follows up with a little sweet kind of.
Yeah, and doesn't it kind of like taste tropical to you, like a little mango-y?
A little bit.
Like if a mango and a Meyer lemon got together.
I mean, it's just almost puckery, but not quite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And these are quite ripe. So earlier they were.
Interesting.
Yeah.
From what I understand, they grow. I mean, they don't need a whole lot of.
Right. Well, the one really
anything.
key thing is they need a male plant. One male plant can fertilize. I think they do like a 1 to 6.
Okay.
6 to 8 female plants for one, like a kiwi.
Okay, so.
But you can't just grow one, because there's probably your next door neighbor doesn't have a male sea berry plant. So, so you do have to have a male. This is a male one. It has all these little nubbins on the branch.
Okay, so that one will not produce any fruit. It's just there for pollination.
Yep. So
purposes.
every 8 plants, there's a male. Yep. But they're very tasty. They're from cold regions, Russia, northern, Baltics and Scandinavia. But we've had people from, a guy from Tajikistan said, oh, well, these are really popular where I come from. This is, they grow high in the mountains. So people who live in cold climates can get through the winter if you have these, because it's vitamin C. It's these, that'll keep you from getting scurvy.
I'm guessing with the small leaves, they're fairly drought tolerant too, probably.
They seem to have done pretty well. If I had to guess why we lost the ones at the top of the slope, I think that's winter damage. Maybe some drought stress and winter damage.
I would also say drought stress, just because, so this row is not irrigated. It's the only plants on the farm that don't have an irrigation line at all.
And that's the high
point. So I think down here they got a little bit more water protection.
Yeah.
So
when we tear those out, I do want to put a water line in. So they don't need much, but in a drought year, they wouldn't mind.
This year was, an exceptional.
But people are really excited about them. We sell them to a chef in Minneapolis who buys almost our whole crop to make very fancy desserts.
Sweeter. It's neat.
You can make sorbet, you could make curd, you could make cocktails. We've been muddling them and experimenting with different cocktails with a little triple sec, a little other fruits in there. They're pretty amazing.
This is that kind of gardening show.
It can be.
Yeah, my favorite things that we made last year were the curd,
Okay.
and one of our close friends is a chef, and she made flan with these. It was not bad.
So we have 76 varieties of apples, 25 varieties of pears, grapes, 50 some varieties of pears, 9 gooseberries, 9 currants. We have a lot of varieties of everything. And so I always have to walk around with a map
to know what's what.
Yeah, but a lot of them we only have 1 or 2 or 3 plants each. And and a lot of them are still coming into bearing. So it's sort of, we haven't even tasted.
They're young yet. So.
Yeah. So especially pears, a good thing to know is pears, a lot of pears do well in cold weather. We can grow pears pretty well in Minnesota. And they are the slowest fruit to come to maturity. Most pear trees will take 8 to 10 to 12 years before they start making fruit.
Okay.
So the old adage is plant pears for your heirs. If you want a quick return, plant honeyberries or currants or some of these other grape plums.
Small.
Will make fruit within a handful of years, but not pears. So these trees are mostly 7 years old,
Okay.
and some of them are fruiting for the first time this year, and a lot of them still did not fruit this year.
Okay.
So this is a first time for this tree, and I have to go back and look at my map to see what it is, but it's quite lovely.
That's a very nice pear. And now, am I right when I say that usually pears, you don't leave them to fully ripen on the tree? You
Correct.
You would pick them and let them ripen?
Correct. So there's this whole mysterious art of knowing when to pick pears, and we're just learning it. We've been consulting with all these pear people, but there is a subtle shift in the color, just like this hint of maybe that's not green under the skin, and then you can, if they start falling, that's a clue, but not the only clue. You can cut it in half this way and look at the seeds, and if the seeds have turned brown on the outside, then that's pretty mature. If the seeds are still white around, then it's not mature. Leave them on the tree. And finally, you take the pear and you gently lift it 90 degrees, and if it snaps off, then it's willing to be picked.
Okay.
Those are all signs. So some combination of the color, and a little
the
bit
blossom
of
end pressure
slight pressure on the blossom end.
will yield.
I don't feel,
Yep, you can feel it yield.
I don't feel much yield on this one. So,
We'll see.
but I noticed like a little bit of color turn.
I see a little bit of a
It
blush
gave when I
there.
picked it, and its friends are dropping. So then you pick it and then you put it in the fridge for a while. And different varieties of pears might be a week, might be 6 weeks or longer that you're supposed to keep it in the fridge. Then when you pull it out, it will have developed its flavors on the inside, and when it ripens, it'll be perfect.
Wow.
Pears are mysterious, but wondrous fruits.
And how many varieties of pears did you
I think 56.
I did not realize there were that many pears that would grow in Minnesota.
Me either.
Maybe not all of them are doing very well.
Okay.
So part of and I agree with this, part of the thinking of the prior owner was, let's plant
a few
all these varieties
and see what does
and
well.
see what does well. So we might discover that, these do fabulously on this soil, this climate, this farm, this everything, and kind of bring them back out of obscurity. And other ones just year after year either have disease, or they die back a lot in the winter, or their flowering always gets hit by frost or something. And so gradually we're going to eliminate some varieties that just have not done well year after year and duplicate the ones that do. So there's red currants, white currants, pink currants, black currants. We love black currants, and they're the most vigorous of all of those. They do have a very strong flavor, so some people love it and some people don't, but black currant jam is, I think, our favorite jam of all time. Yeah, I love it, and that also is another one of those, dark purple fruits with lots of anthocyanins and good things that'll keep you strong through the winter.
This row of plants here, the Chernai Lisabenko, these are about 6-7 years old now. And I mean, they're what? They're like 5 feet tall. And so if a person wanted a privacy hedge, 17.
4 years old.
4 years old.
Oh, 4 years old.
Yeah.
There you go. So if a person wanted a privacy hedge
that they could also eat.
These are pretty thick. Now they do lose their leaves in the winter, so that's
right.
different from like an evergreen hedge.
But you're not out sunbathing on your lawn in the winter having lots of picnics.
I'm
So-
not.
They were quite tasty. I was really excited when you opened it up.
Yeah,
Because
good.
now, how do do you mostly sell at farmers markets or in the cities, or do people can come here and buy, or how do you?
Well, this year we tried, we picked and picked and picked and picked and picked and picked and picked. And when we couldn't pick any more, but the berries were still ripe, then we offered a you pick day. And dozens of people came to pick berries themselves. And that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We felt like it was a moment in COVID when people could be spread far enough apart. And we had the hand washing and
hand
outside.
washing
And it's kind of fun because a lot of the people who came responded to our announcement that went out on a Russian language listserv in
really?
Minnesota, or a Facebook page. And so because currants are a beloved fruit in especially Eastern Europe,
Right.
Russian, former Soviet lands, we had a lot of Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians.
Estonians, Lithuanians.
Yeah, and then you had me from about 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
There you go.
And there were some Hutchinsonians.
There was a woman who tasted a berry and she stopped and got tears in her eyes. And you could see, because we were all in like t-shirts and tank tops, she got goosebumps all over because she said, I haven't tasted this since I was 6 years old.
Oh wow!
And she's like giving the berries to her kids, who are like, I don't know what you're so excited about. These taste like pine trees. But it was really neat. It was really neat to see folks reconnect with the flavor of a fruit that was so dear to them in their childhood, and reminds them of their grandparents and of their places of origin. And so that was pretty great.
Okay, so do you think going forward you might have some other you pick days here and there, or not, or haven't you made that decision yet?
Maybe, I think we'll do this again next year. We're thinking about bringing a band out too, to do some Eastern European music, because why not, like, make a party out of it.
Well, I want to say thank you for letting us come out here to film, and we've really enjoyed it. Hope more people will get to know about your products and your farm here, and thanks for joining us in the garden. See you next time.